गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in, where is the sound coming from? We are in Amrit Anubhav and looking at the second chapter called Guru Stavan, and in Guru Stavan, and we are on verse number, what is the verse number? 41. Why is it that the Guru cannot be referred to by any name or qualification? This is explained by means of some beautiful similes in of OV 41 and 42 to show how the dichotomy of subject-object, Guru-Shishya, is impossible in the Guru Tattva, the pure self. So, yes, last week we saw how the Guru does not like to be referred even by the word Guru, or Atma, or Self, or Infinite, or Satchidanand, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, nothing, no words. It does not get established by any word because he is beyond all the words. He does not get established by any concept because he is beyond all the concepts. Words and concepts are at the level of intellect. And the truth is transcendental to it. So here he says in the 41st, Rati nureci surya natari lavana paniya nureci choiliya need jaisi. As night is impossible in the sun, salt cannot stay separate within the water, or there is absence of sleep in the waking state. Similarly, if you had attended the meditation today, in the truth, in the Atma, in the Self, there is no individuality and totality. Atma is by itself. Just like in the sun there is no day and night, exactly the same way, in the Self there is no individuality, there is no multiplicity. There is no duality. And this is only to be accepted. This doesn't need to be worked out. In the kingdom of the sun, there is nothing called night. First example. Second example, salt cannot exist in water independently. Ramakrishna Paramahansa's famous example, the salt went to see the depth of the ocean. The salt doll took a dive into the ocean to see how deep it is, and it became one with the ocean because it loses its individuality. The salt doll which jumped into the waters, no more remains a salt doll. Dissolves. Similarly, third example, sleep is not possible in the waking state. Sir, don't challenge us. We will do it and show it to you. So, when we have become awake, we have left the sleep behind. Sleeper has not become the waker. Sleeper has to die, has to go out of existence in order for waker to express, and vice versa. Sleep is not possible in the waking state because sleep, nidra, is that where we are not aware of our own nature. In sleep, this is one way of looking at it. In sleep, we are totally ignorant of where we are, what we are, who we are. See? Whereas in the waking, oh, I am seeking, I am studying Amrit Anubhav. I was meditating. I am understanding. I am this person. I am awake at the moment. I am conscious. I am not sleeping. I am conscious. He who has, is that where we are not aware of our own nature. Sleep is a state where we are not aware of our own nature. And exactly opposite is in the waking. We are aware of our own nature. Whatever it may be. It may be the put on nature or it may be the real one. Meaning, he who has come to discover his own essential nature can be called, he who has come to discover his own essential nature, can he be called deluded? So, Master, here we are talking from Jnaneshwar Maharaj's point of view. He is always talking from the self point of view, cannot take the position of individuality. Why? He has realized he is abiding in the self. So therefore the question, the Swamiji is asking us, what is that? That he who has come to know, or the one who is conscious of his nature, can he be called deluded? But deluded means when you are under the influence of the avaran, under the influence of the veil. Can you say in the daytime, oh, it is dark? You can't say that. You are seeing light everywhere. Same way, a person who has become aware of his own essential nature, is aware of that he is conscious. Can he be called deluded? No, sir. He cannot be. Even these three examples which are given, take each one and apply it to yourself. Individuality will vanish. In the 42nd verse, कापुराचे थळीव नुरेची आगीची बरव नुरेची रूप नाव तैसे यया. The name and form of camphor do not stay in fire. Similarly, the name and form disappear in Brahman, Guru. How beautiful. And this is the way our practices. When we are in front of the altar, we take the arti. Om na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyato bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Bolo Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Because today is Guru Purnima. So what do we do when we do the arti? We take the karpur. Karpur is camphor. And when we light it, now that time our attention is only on the photograph. Baba, your attention should be on the fire, or it should be on the karpur. Just like when that karpur is ignited, or the light is, it is lighted up. Where is the fire coming from? From the kapur. What is the material which is fueling the fire? Kapur. And what happens as a result? The kapur itself exhausts itself. That is its tapasya. But we are busy in the everything else. It just becomes a ritual. So the name and form of kapur or camphor dissolves in fire. When we have in the contemplative fire, and contemplation not on the world, contemplation of the self, on the Guru Tattva. If we are sincerely and in the correct manner doing it, doing means, I can only use that word at the moment, we have to begin somewhere. Slowly, the entire name and form, that I am this body, that I am doing it, all this starts dissolving away. But the attention should be on the divine, not imagination of the divine, on the divine. The name and form and the crystalline nature of camphor cannot remain intact the moment the camphor comes in contact with fire. In the same way, it is not possible to retain names and forms in the glory of the Sadguru, because he cannot be conditioned by the limitations of names and forms. Either every name and form without exception should be seen as the Guru or none. To think that only one name and one form of the form is the Guru and not others is to create bheda, differences, and all the consequent suffering. See? So, two ways. One is either you would withdraw from all the forms, recognize the Guru within, or you see that the Guru within alone is expressing through all the forms. And this will not be possible by extroverted approach. Both will have to happen only inside. And it's not, I can't even use the word inside or outside, because the mind is going in and mind is going out. Mind is extroverted and introverted. Self is not extroverted or introverted. Self is as it is. Self is self-established. The movement of outside and within is in the mind, not in the self. So recognize this. Just be. And there you are. To think that only, I already told you, to think that only one name and form is the Guru and not others is to create bheda. So when we become fixated, when we become cultish, when we say, I am a devotee of, my Guru is Shiva, my Guru is Krishna, my Guru is Ramana Maharishi, my Guru is Satya Sai Baba, my Guru is this, my Guru is that. My Guru is Adi Shankara, I am a Vedanti, I am a devotee, I am this, I am that. We are concretizing our personality. Guru is none of these, and yet all of this. Eh, Just like, ice cube or the iceberg is crystalline in nature. Crystallized water is called ice. But in the heat of the sun, what happens? It comes back to its original form, water. And water has got no shape. Ice cube has a shape, or iceberg has a shape, but water has got no shape. Exactly the same way. In this contemplation or being the I, as we start looking, where is this I? I'm thinking about myself. Is thinking required to be me, or am I independent of thinking? The crystallization of the individuality, that is the iceberg here, or the ego, it starts melting away, melting away, melting away. Therefore, Guru Tattva is the support of the total world of names and forms, and when the disciple, who is only one of the names and forms, wants to salute the Guru, the disciple disappears like the camphor in the fire, in the bright illumination of the divine presence called the Guru. So even the Guru Maharaj, whether you take the Guru Tattva or a person as a Guru, what is his disposition or the principal's disposition? That everywhere I am, there is nothing outside of me. I alone am, simple as that. Remember previous 1 or 2 verses previously, we saw Guru himself is appearing as Guru Tattva, alone is expressing in one place as the Guru Maharaj and another place as the Shishya, his disciple. So he who has this vision, so he is himself the teacher and he is himself the disciple. And the game is going on. When the game is going on, the Guru Maharaj, as the teacher, he will not be too serious about teaching. He is not teaching the form. He is teaching he is in connection with the consciousness. He is trying to invoke the consciousness in the disciple. So relatively speaking, this game is going on. From the Guru Tattva point of view, no, whether there is the game of Guru Shishya going on or not going on, nothing is missing from the Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva is not lacking in anything. And this, when we come across masters in our life, they show that yes, it is like that. So when there are many. I was listening to one Mahatma, and he was out of his own choice. He had already left his home. He had left his family and was roaming around, some satsang here, some satsang there, doing his japa daily. Throughout the day he will be chanting his name, Lord's name, and he wanted more. It was not satisfying him. Each person is different. So where can I go? And who is my teacher? I haven't got a teacher yet. This, that. He says, Lord will give me a teacher. And eventually he comes to Brindavan, and in Brindavan he comes to one particular Maharaj. And the moment he sees him, connection happens. We are talking about many years ago, 60, 70 years ago. That time it was not so much construction as it is today. So he started unasked, attended the satsang, and afterwards he would just hang around and without asking, he will clean the room of the teacher, of that master, and give him a glass of water. And if he is going out in the morning for ablutions, he will give him the water. When he comes back, he will wash his feet. He will wash his clothes without asking him. And slowly, 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 and he was already elderly, that master. And then he felt, here. And then he, after some weeks, why weeks, or after 2 years of doing this, the master told him, after 2 years of this testing, if you may use the word, he told him, I am happy with your dedication. This dedication, selfless dedication, will make you come to know the reality. It does not matter if that dedication is towards me or someone. Don't get caught up with me. That dedication is more important. Selfless dedication. And then he built a hut. Before he was sleeping outside the temple or somewhere. Now outside where this Mahatma was staying, in a small room, outside that on the roadside, he made a small hut and started living closer to his teacher. 10 years he spent serving him. And just being in the company of the teacher, serving the teacher selflessly, slowly, 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 all the knowledge started expressing out of him. Siddhi started coming out of him. He did not do any sadhana. One of my classmates, Anubhavananji's students, I remember when I was in Varanasi, I was in Vrindavan for 1 or 2 months, and from there I went to Varanasi, Badrinath, and from Badrinath in 1 month I was there, and then I went to Varanasi. And having gone to Varanasi, this fellow also, he had already stayed in Vrindavan for 6 months in Akhandanandji's ashram. So I had stayed with him for 2 months. They had got the permission. We were doing our sadhana. And then when I went to Varanasi, he asked me, where are you going? Where will you stay? I said, I don't know. I'm going. That's all I know, that I'm going there. And within 2 months, he also followed. And while in Varanasi, he stayed in Manik. He also didn't know anyone. He did not contact me. See, that much vairagya he had. He could have come and stayed with me in my room. I was the weakling. When I went to Vrindavan, I went and stayed with him. When he came to Varanasi, he didn't come to stay with me. He slept on the ghats by the river. And there in the Manikarnika Ghat, because it was cold, he came in November or something, it was cold, so there the bodies are burning. So he was sitting there by the pyres where the cremation was happening to keep himself warm. After 2-3 days, when the dome is the head in charge of the Manikarnika Ghat, who burns, he gives the fire to burn the body. He saw this young fellow, that time he was only 30, 32, or maybe even less. Yeah, maybe 27, 28. 27, 28. He saw this young fellow is sitting here all day long, not going anywhere. Has he eaten or not? And dome is outside the, it's the, what do you call, from respect point of view, it is the lowest. They don't fall under the category of Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They are outside the system. And he went and asked, Baba, kuch khaya kya? He says, nahi. He said, 3 days you are sitting here. And he, see, when we accept the Chatur Varna and Ashram, then from that point of view say dome is outside those classifications. But from the self point of view, who cares? It's a human being. So when he said, come, I'll give you some food, he took him to that main temple at Manikarnika Ghat, made him sit down, from home brought some puri and chole, fed him. And few days he stayed there only in the temple. It was as if he was going through the experience of death. And then just next to Manikarnika Ghat, there is some Ram Ghat, and from there he had heard about some Tembe Swami. And every morning he'll take bath in the Gangaji, and immediately after some whatever the person was giving, he used to go to Tembe Swami. Tembe Swami was already in his 90s, late 80s, 90s. And he will go there, and he went and said, someone has given me your name and I wanted to come and meet you. And just he will sit at his feet, old man, nothing much to talk. Whole day he used to sit in meditation only. At that age, by himself he used to go down 150 steps for taking bath in the Gangaji, and then wash his clothes, and then slowly, it was a big arduous journey for him to climb back to the room that he had. And when this Abhishek ji, he went there, he started bringing him buckets of water so he could take bath in his room only. He will wash his clothes by himself. Didn't ask permission. If you ask a Mahatma permission, he will say, I don't need all this service. And kept doing it. He got sick. He brought him to Bombay, got him taken care of. Then he wanted to go back, took him back. And while doing the service, this master passed away. See? And while going, gave him great blessings. And today, he's maybe 41, 42. Today he is a Mahamandleshwar in Rishikesh. See? Just by service, selfless service, great things happen. So, do selfless service to the Lord, do selfless service to the Guru within. Automatically, all these Daivi Sampattis will automatically come. Automatically the integration will start happening. But it must be selfless, not wanting anything in return. For us it is, if I do this sadhana, I will get realized. Realization is the result. If I study Amrit Anubhav, oh, it makes me feel very nice and good, and my mind becomes clear. I feel divine. Result is there. If tomorrow onwards, or in next 2 minutes onwards, I start screaming at you, abusing you, even while telling you, talking about Amrit Anubhav, but I start taking your names and really rub it into you, I guarantee, after a few days, all these people who I see on the side will start vanishing. See? Maybe one day the test will come. Like my teacher tested me. Yeah. You might also get tested by me or by somebody else. But that is the time that instead of judging the Guru, judging the teacher, judging the Lord, why he is doing like this. No, at that is the opportune moment for us to transform. Every time any time there is some difficulties in life, that is the right time to transform within. See? The disciple disappears like the camphor in the fire. So, by doing selfless service, if camphor is saying that I want to do the arti to the Lord, and it lights itself, the fire, and as it is melting away and becoming fire, its identity is becoming less and less. No, I did not do this sadhana to vanish. I want to be there. How, if I vanish, then how will I come to know that I realized or not? Arey, that is the what is required. Your identity as the individual, which is on the basis of identification with this body, and as a result the crystallization of the ego. So when we remember the Guru Maharaj, when we remember the Lord, when we take the name of the Lord, when we sit in meditation, this identity must dissolve. But instead we say, oh, but how will it be how will be the experience? We want to experience reality. Who wants to experience reality? The individual. And why he wants to experience reality? Because he has got a premise, he's got a understanding that reality is the destination, reality is somewhere something greater than who he is right now. At the relative level, it is absolutely right. Reality is greater than where we are at this moment. But when we come to Adhyatma, when we come to the reality, come to the scriptures, come to the masters, what do they tell us? On one hand they say reality is greater than the greatest, mind cannot come to know, words cannot reach. And on the other hand, what do they say? Tattvamasi, you are that. So, for whom was that instruction? For whom was that instruction? For the mind, for the individual. Hey, stop thinking that you are the individual. Stop thinking you are the limited. Stop thinking you are a crystallization of ego. Stop thinking you are the mind. Stop thinking you were born. Stop thinking you will be dead one day. But I see that all around. Yes, you see all that around, but that is only unmanifestation of the body. And then so many different ways the mind is made, or the individual mind is made to impress with this new data. But data or no data, if that data that we have collected or that we are getting exposed to, if we start becoming arrogant with that data to judge other people, then we have lost the plot. If we collect the data and keep it in the memory that, oh, this is very good thought, I will note it down. This is very good thought, I will remember it, and you repeat it few times. Again we are doing the wrong thing. That we are collecting information. Then what is to be done? At this moment, as we are getting exposed to this data, to these words which are reminding us of the Guru Tattva, and that Guru Tattva is our essence, then why am I thinking about the essence which I already am? Why am I thinking about the essence which I already am through these limited words? Because I have not accepted myself to be that. That is why. I'm not convinced. That's why I want to read more, listen more, attend satsang more. Because I am not ready to be convinced, not ready to accept myself that I am the infinite one. I feel I will be committing a sin if I say, if I come to be the infinite one. Because of that infinite alone is God. Oh, that means God also is because of the infinite. And that I am. This problem is of the individual. But when the individual is infinite, individual is no longer to say. That individual and God, the total, is because of me. From the water's point of view, there is no ocean, the totality, and no wave, the individuality. From the sun's point of view, there is nothing called light, day, and nothing called night. Similarly, from the Guru Tattva point of view, there is nothing called Guru, there is nothing called Shishya. There is nothing called ignorance, there is nothing called knowledge. There is nothing called inside, there is nothing called outside. There is nothing called bondage, and there is nothing called liberation. All you have to do is, instead we go around, I stopped doing sadhana because they said from Guru's point of view, Guru Tattva point of view, there is no bondage and liberation. So I stopped doing sadhana. Who is saying this? Individual is saying this. This is the foolish way sometimes people interact with themselves. Okay. So here he says that like the camphor in the fire, in the bright illumination of the divine presence called the Guru, the individual, the seeker, vanishes, the ego vanishes, the I vanishes. So I, how has it got crystallized? By creating association with everything. I says, I am because of wife, I am because of husband, I am because of children, I am because of this body, I am because I got these senses, I am because of this mind, I am because of the wealth, I am because of this house. And slowly, I am because of this health. And as old age comes, if we have not prepared, what will happen? Everything will, whatever the nature has in store, sometimes it takes away the house, sometimes it takes away the wife or the husband, sometimes it takes away the children. Now, what is happening? There are less things for the I to relate with, associate with. So what is happening? The I is becoming thinner and thinner. The camphor is melting. And when the melting happens, majority of the people, unprepared ones, they start going into sadness, depression, because they are not understanding what is happening, why everything is. I think there is a curse on me, that everything. One of my classmates, she says, my husband passed away, my parents passed away, now my sister, her younger sister also passed away with cancer, and she's afraid that now everyone her grandparents, her parents, her husband's parents, her husband, her younger sister, only two sisters, younger sister, and everyone is passing away. She is wondering, am I cursed, Swamiji, that everyone whom I am associating with is being taken away? See, how we go the wrong way. But if we take the position of the Cancer, Yahoo! Let the process be expedited. Whether the world is taken away from me or not, oh Lord, take me away. Meaning, take the I away, who is holding on to everything. So when we are unprepared, we go into depression. When we are prepared, we welcome. We welcome. And that is the process of the nature. Everything is being taken away from you to make you recognize. Every day the waking is taken away. Every day the hunger is taken away. Every day the day is taken away. And as you grow old, everything that you know as the norm is taken away. Health is taken away. Eventually the body is also taken away. Breath is taken away. And if you are prepared for it, oh, it will be fantastic. Question is preparation. Preparation means acceptance and watching. Once you have accepted that we are contemplating on the Guru Tattva, by the grace of the Guru, this understanding will come that this going away or taking away of everything that you were associating with is like the camphor burning to be the fire. So it is the individuality burning away all associations in order to merge into the infinite Guru Tattva. Why? It is contemplating on, it is thinking about the Guru Tattva. It has accepted that I am the Guru Tattva. And it's remaining in that acceptance. Initially by whichever means, by whichever support, doesn't matter. It can be some ritual begin, it can be japa, it can be contemplation, it can be satsang. But don't give too much importance to all this. Importance should be on what they are indicating, which is the conscious principle. Those who give too much importance to the scriptures, they become philosophers. They know about all the scriptures, but they don't know about what the scriptures are talking about, which is the truth. They don't know the truth, but they can talk about truth hours and after, like we are doing. See, we have to realize the truth. And that is only possible not by reaching anywhere. Because scriptures are saying you are the truth, Tattvamasi. So all you have to do is do, or I am using the word do, all we have to accept. Aham Brahmasmi, accept. या चाहता पाया पहे तव वंद्यत्वे पुढे न मंडे न पडेची हा भिडे भेदाचिये. He says, when one wants to salute him, the Guru, he disappears, for he does not yield to the duality and cannot be objectified. When you want to salute the sleep, when you want to salute the sleep, how do you salute the sleep? Tell me. How do you desire sleep? Tell me. By thinking about it, isn't it? Right or not? I want to sleep. Similarly, I want to merge into the Guru. So, Guru is only a concept in your mind, an idea. I thought is also an idea only. God is also an idea only. So, just like you are thinking of the sleep, and in thinking of the sleep, what happens? The thinker vanishes. And when thinker vanishes, sleep ensues. The one who was thinking of sleep is not available when he has been dissolved into sleep, isn't it? Exactly the same way. When we are contemplating, thinking about the truth, the Guru Tattva, when we come to the threshold, the last moment, we will vanish or the Guru will vanish. Neither the Guru will be there nor you will be there. Meaning, the thought of the Guru will not be there, and the thought of I am the Shishya, this will not be there. See how beautiful. If one wants to salute the Guru and approaches him, the Guru disappears. He is not there to receive the salutations. And don't you do this? When you go to the temple, all dressed up and decked up with beautiful sari and clothes and dhoti and veshti and all the makeup is ready. Mentally also, you have from morning you have been thinking, maybe days you have been thinking that I will reach Badrinath and I'll do the puja, or I'll reach Kedarnath and I'll do the prostrations and this and that and that. And in the best of your mind, in the best of your form, you go there. You have traveled so many kilometers, thousands of kilometers, spent so much money to reach Badrinath or any other altar. And when you go in front of the altar, you close your eyes. Yeah, you spent so much money to look at him, to be available to him. How come you are closing your eyes after looking at him? How come? Because everyone intuitively knows the divinity is their nature. That Lord is not other than them, or they are part of the Lord in that sense. Everyone knows that. But we are so cluttered in our mind with all the associations and popping up this individuality. And in those few moments when we are prostrating in front of the Lord in the temple or even at home, in that prostration, where are we seeking it? Where are we? Is that form available to us? No. Eyes are closed. The form vanishes. So that's exactly what he is saying here, that the Guru as an idea, the Guru as a concept, Guru as a personality disappears when the disciple makes or the seeker makes the salutations. He is not there to receive the salutations. The Guru is not there to receive the salutations. You can make salutations only to the Guru who is considered as separate to you. But when you are studying the scriptures and refining your understanding about the Guru principle, what have we been doing till now? Think. What have we been doing? We have been bringing the Guru closer and closer, or we are going closer and closer to the Guru Tattva. All the wrong connotations about the Guru, that I am separate to him, all that were slowly dissolved. The greatness of the Guru was established in our mind. That if we get established in the Guru, that itself is liberation. Also it was told to the same disciple that the Guru is in your heart, Guru is your essence, but he is not ready to give up objectivity. In that objectivity, thinking of the Guru, he goes to prostrate to the Guru, whether within or without. He loses himself. He is not there to receive the salutations, meaning that the Guru Tattva is not an object to which an approach can be made. Vandyatva is the object of worship and Vandaka is the one who is offering the worship. The moment the disciple offers salutations, the Guru ceases to be Guru, because the Guru does not even for a moment accept the disciple as someone other than him. He does not respect any attempts by the disciple which would support the difference, the otherness, the bheda, the differentiation between the Guru and the Shishya. By this Upadesha, the Guru himself disappears as being not separate from the disciple. So this treatment, sometimes you see physically, when we see here, we hear interactions between Guru and some places we have been where in many ashrams a person who has been so diligently, so selflessly serving the Guru Maharaj, many places we have seen that. The Guru Maharaj is wonderful, soft-spoken, loving, compassionate to all the people who are coming to them. Even to other disciples who come for some time and want to learn something and go away. But he is the most harshest towards this fellow who has committed himself to serve the Guru Maharaj. See? He ridicules him in front of the Guru Maharaj. See, Chinmayananji went to Tapovan Maharaj, and one day Tapovan Maharaj, story comes many times, I have told you before. Tapovan Maharaj said to everyone who came to his house, to the hut, small hut, Chinmaya tore my clothes. He doesn't know how to wash. This is after 7-8 years of living there with him. Not with him, in a hut separate. Chinmaya spoiled my clothes. Chinmaya made holes in my clothes. Only 2 clothes I have, that also he has spoiled. He doesn't wash properly. Maybe he hates me. I don't know why he is doing this. He will tell to every person who will come to meet him, he will make sure that he tells them about how Chinmaya has torn his clothes. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, 6 day, 1 week, 2 weeks. Initially, he said, it's okay. Chinmayananji. But eventually, one day, it went and took seat in his heart. And he went and confronted Tapovan Maharaj and said, why are you saying this? I'll buy you new clothes. I did not do it. I did not tear your clothes. I am very careful when I wash. And I am still washing. You stop washing then. You have to stop washing clothes. And where am I going wrong? Can you please tell me? That you are telling everyone that I have torn your clothes, I have torn your clothes. And when he said, hey, get out from here, he will not answer him. Just look down, get away. Useless fellow. Thinks great about himself. And one day, out of frustration, Chinmayananji packed his bag, one jholi only, or 2 clothes, 2-3 langots from Uttarkashi, packed his bag, came to Tapon Maharaj, looked at him. Tapon Maharaj didn't even look at him. From there only he just did namaskar, and he says, I don't know, but as long as this attitude is there, maybe he said it or he didn't say it, I don't know, that as long as this type of interaction is going on, I will never be able to learn anything here. And I think this old man is becoming senile in his old age. He's talking about his guru, huh? This old man, the Guru Maharaj is becoming senile in his old age. He's thought fixated. I think whatever I learnt, I appreciate that, and he walked away from there. And then Tapon Maharaj, after 2, 3, 4 hours, Tapon Maharaj called someone, another disciple. He says, Chinmay must have just reached the outskirts of Uttarkashi. He is going back to Rishikesh. Go and tell him. Tapon is calling him. And the disciple ran after, and he told Chinmayananji. Was it after a few hours or 1 or 2 days? I don't know. It takes, in those days it used to take about 10 days to come down to Rishikesh. So this disciple caught up with him, whatever the time lapse was, and then told him, Tapon Maharaj has called you back. Good sense prevailed. Tapon Maharaj, Chinmayananji came back he did not continue the journey. He came back. And the moment he came, waiting for a smile, waiting for a hug, waiting for some nice words, waiting for a sorry. Sometimes we expect a sorry from the teacher, Guru Maharaj. Nothing came. He fell at the feet. As he stood up, Tapon Maharaj said, you have torn my clothes. Again he rubbed it in. You have torn my clothes. At that moment, Chinmayananji stopped justifying that he has not torn the clothes. He said, yes, I tore the clothes. First time he accepted it. Even though he had not. He had never torn the clothes. But something shifted at that moment. He said, how long I am going to keep banging against this fellow? And in that moment of surrender, yes, I have torn the clothes, transformation happened. That moment it happened. A student became a teacher. The disciple became the Guru himself. This is what is required. Different play for everyone. The challenge will be different. challenges can be many, but our attention must be on the Guru Tattva and its immensity and its all all pervasiveness. Questions, doubts, differences, they get established only when we are divorced from that, when we are seeking that truth, seeking that Guru Tattva objectively, as if we are separate from it and I have to reach somewhere. Then questions will come, doubts will come, then you will move from ashram to ashram, guru to guru, God to God. There is no end to the journey. Life to life, in search of that one truth. See? But when our attention is on that as your essence, I am that. Nisargadatta Maharaj said, I am that. When his teacher told him, you are that. Once only he told him. He said, how do I contemplate on this? You are that. He says, till you don't come to realize I am that. So therefore his talks which have been put together, the book is called I Am That. Me to ahe. How wonderful. By this Upadesha, the Guru himself disappears. If Guru disappears, if the wife disappears, can the husband remain? Husband also disappears. Only man remains then. Only the essence, only the common denominator will remain. So on that one tattva, on that one essence, the Guru was there, and because Guru was there, Shishya was there, or the vice versa. Both are coexisting. Guru and Shishya are coexisting. Both are ideas, both are concepts, both are imaginations, both are thoughts in your mind. That's why this language is so, what you call, it is so subtle that we can lose the plot even as we are reading. And how many different ways Jnaneshwar Maharaj is creating the bhumika. Bhumika means he is creating the भूमिका को क्या बोलेंगे? Creating the foundation. Creating the foundation from all different angles, so that no doubt only is left in our mind as to who we are, what this Guru Tattva is. That is his grace. And only such a person who is established in his own self as the self can speak in this manner. You cannot speak in this manner intellectually. You cannot speak in this manner from conviction. Somewhere you will make the mistake. Somewhere you will make the mistake. As eloquent as one may be, all the Pandits, so-called knowers of the truth, intelligent fellows in the court of the Janak Maharaj, and when Ashtavakra came, and what was Ashtavakra? Established in what they were talking about. And they could not stand the questions. They had no answers for the questions that Ashtavakra asked. When Shankaracharya met that Chandal Shankaracharya could not, he initially asked questions. Munchu, Munchu, get away, get away. He said, what are you telling, who are you telling to get away? The body, my body, your body is the same. Atma never moves away. In that one moment, transformation took place in Shankaracharya. Fell prostrate, knowing that he is a great guru. So are we available? Are we saluting every experience that life is throwing at us? And not trying to establish that I'm going to fight this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to, defeat this difficulty in life and become successful. We have to go beyond both. See? Because you fight anything, you react to anything, you take responsibility of anything, individuality is getting established. The feeling of fear of loss arises in one's mind because of the otherness. We have over lifetimes, and even in this lifetime, the only way we have propped up this ego is by association. That's what I was telling before. Only through association, only through relationship. Those associations we call as relationship to objects and beings, memories. See? And when those are being taken away from us, we start losing our mind. We are not remembering. We call it a disease called dementia. Another word is introduced in the mind to explain the condition of the mind. Why don't you take a positive one? Arey, fantastic! My mind is becoming forgetful. I tried so hard throughout my life to reduce the number of memories. Now automatically it is happening. Fantastic. Why you have to call it a disease? When you forget everything, when you go to sleep, you don't say that I have got dementia, therefore I am sleeping. You don't say that. So this fear of loss rises in one's mind because of the otherness, because we have accepted ourselves to be this body, this individual. We have not recognized that we are the essence of the entire. Then this fear will go away. But we maintain the differences. My child has died, depression. My son is listening to his wife more than he is listening to his mother, depression. We are experts at creating interpretations of life by which the individuality remains strong. Scriptures are interpretations of life by which individuality dissolves. See? The Sadguru is the one who can never be lost, never be denied, and he is ever within. He is none other than the Self, the Sadguru, the Guru Tattva. That I, which is disassociated, that I which is not associated with anything, not even with the thought called I, is the Sadguru. And that you are. The highest love is that which even for a moment never entertains a sense of otherness or fear of loss. You as a wave as an individual fears the loss of individuality. Ocean on the other hand, what is the disposition of the ocean? That I alone am expressing through all the waves. All the waves are in me. So will there be a desire for any wave? Will there be any fear of loss of any wave? Will there be? Not possible. So when the wave, thinking about the ocean, merges into, recognizes, even while expressing as the wave is a phenomena, even while that phenomena is like we are this body is the phenomena, we are thinking about the Lord or the infinite Tattva, and in that, like that salt doll we have melted, then from that point, oh, is my wife going to still there? Is my children still there? Is the world still there? Are my investments still there? All this will not become this question cannot appear in the mind. Just like in the sun, oh, yesterday I gave light to the earth. Now I am going to again give the light to the earth next morning. This thought doesn't come to the sun. He is just being himself. For him there is nothing called day and night. Similarly, for the one who has come to be established in his essential nature, for him, whatever was, when he looks back from where he has come, at that last moment after merging, when he turns back, he sees only himself. He doesn't see the individuality. He doesn't see the just like you are seeing right hand, left hand, head, legs, toes, stomach, back, front. But what is your experience? That I am everywhere in the body. I am the body. Imagine this disposition. It expands to include the entire universe. That is the disposition. Then we cannot even say it that the whole universe is in me or I am in the whole universe. No. Then remember the Krishna's words. The whole world is in, first statement he made, whole world is in me, I am in the whole world. Second verse he says, neither the world is in me nor I am in the world. Third verse he says, third line he says, I am transcendental to the world and yet support all the names and forms which is the world. See? Who can say this statement? Now depends where your position is. As the ocean, all the waves are in me and I am in all the waves. And the other is also true. Ocean never thinks because ocean cannot have a mind. Ishvara has got no mind. So therefore, neither the world waves are in me nor I am in the waves because only water is there. Now he's going back to the one principle. See? And that is true love, which is not based on any conditionings, which is not, our love is because that fellow is my child, so I love him, because she is my wife, so I love her, because she is my, these are my parents, so I love them. This is conditional love. What we want to, what our nature is unconditional love. Ocean's love for all the waves is unconditional. Not because they are living for a small time or because they are living for a big time or because they are expressing as a tsunami. it does not matter. It's unconditional. Not because, therefore I love. No. The highest love is that which for a moment never entertains a sense of otherness or fear of loss. So, ocean doesn't see any waves other than itself, and it does not fear the loss when the wave dies, because ocean remains the same. It's complete. Now start seeing. Have you become miserable because every day you are going through waking dream sleep, waking dream sleep, waking dream sleep? No. You are not miserable. In fact, you look forward to going to sleep. You look forward to getting up. You look forward to some people do look forward to dreams. Or just like today or yesterday you must have said, oh, I'm looking forward to the tomorrow's satsang, it is Guru Purnima. It is a dream when you are thinking about it. And right now you are exposed to this discourse. It is also a dream going on. It's also a dream going on. Why? Because there is duality. Because there is sense of otherness. Because someone is going to talk and we are going to listen. This can only happen in imagination. This can only happen in mind. So, and if at this moment you accept yourself that this drama is going on and you are the one who are the witness of this drama going on, fantastic. Just as the highest love is that which even for a moment never entertains a sense of otherness or fear of loss, just as one never has any fear of losing oneself. So when we have accepted the entire, and for that we did tell you once, the example was Panchadashi, the example comes, the Bhutakash, Chittakash, Chidakash. Bhutakash is the total gross space in which the entire world is there, as you know it at this moment. But how do you know the whole world and its variety? Where is the whole world existing? In space. How do you know space? Because I can think about it. What is space? It is nothing. It is emptiness. So that word space or akash represents emptiness. And where is the word appearing? In my mind. Because the word akash is there in your mind, therefore the akash called the space has appeared outside. Both happened simultaneously. See? So where is the total universe existing? In the gross space. Where is the idea or concept of gross space, or you know about it? In your mind. So that means the gross space, which is inclusive of the total universe, is only a concept of your mind space, of your mind space. What is going on in the mind space? Oh, there is variety of thoughts, variety of experiences. What are the variety of experiences? Oh, variety of waking experience, dream experience, deep sleep experience. So this variety is going on in the mental space. Who is knowing it? Or are you not knowing it? No, I know it. It is happening. These three have happened. Every day they happen. I know. Nobody says I don't know. They all say I know. Who is that? The one who knows, he is the Chidakash. That is the conscious space. Okay. So from conscious space point of view, well, let's start. From the space point of view, the whole universe is in the space. From the waker's point of view, waking mind point of view, the entire waking experience and the waking space is a concept of the mind. From the dreamer's point of view, the entire dream world with the dream varieties is existing in the dream space, and that space is in the concept of the mind or projection of the mind. See? And from the conscious space point of view, all of these are and not are at the same time, because it's a phenomena. So never has the fear of losing oneself. As long as we remain an object in this creation, fear of loss will be there. As long as we remain as an individual, loss of individuality will create fear. But if we accept ourselves to be one with the divine, then no more loss thereafter. And this is your experience also. You don't become afraid losing yourself to sleep. Sleep doesn't feel afraid to lose itself to the waking. Waker doesn't feel afraid to lose itself to the dream. It's happening. Every day it is happening. That is the all-encompassing three principles, but the husband doesn't feel afraid to lose himself and allow the father to express. Father doesn't feel afraid of losing himself in order for husband to express. It's happening. Every role that you are playing, something has to be lost in order for the next role to appear. So catch the principle. Don't catch the individuality. Catch the principle. From principle point of view, there is no the fear cannot express, because that principle is not other than me. On the other hand, with spiritual maturity and with complete surrender, the disciple should be confident that the Guru cannot get out of his heart even if he wants to. You are hooked before you were born. As an individual, we are thinking that the life, the consciousness is not other than the Guru. It is already there. We have not given it attention. We are lost in the names and forms. So, a person who says, I don't believe in all this is all humbug. It's just you're playing with our mind. You're making us confused, and then first you create the confusion, then you solve the confusion. I was already fine before. Some people speak that way. But that person who is ignorant, a person who is doubting, the person who is not accepting, he is also alive, isn't he? In him also consciousness is expressing, isn't it? He may call it conscious or he may not call it conscious. That's a different matter. But he is alive. Life is expressing. You cannot separate yourself from life. But somewhere we have made a mistake. We have superimposed the life that we are, the consciousness that we are, on the body. That I am alive because the body is there. I am consciousness because I am conscious of the body. Life has any meaning only because of possessions and relations. We are given, then we go further out. We have to take back all the power that is leaked out in giving value and importance, starting from the body, from the senses, from the thoughts, and so on, to the whole world. Take it back. And that can happen only by coming to the divine principle. Therefore, salutation to the Sadguru can only be in the form of getting established in one's own being, in being one with the Guru. So now, can you ever become one with the Guru, physical Guru, as long as you keep him outside as an idea, as a concept, as a form? Understand, Guru principle is all that there is. Unconditional love is all that there is. Atma is all that there is. And these three are not separate from each other. How the duality is not possible in the Guru Tattva is explained by examples in the next three OVs. We'll look at it in our next class. A beautiful thought today on the Guru Purnima day. Salutations to you all for allowing me to express these thoughts, because I keep saying it, but today I'll repeat it again. If you are not there, if you all are not there, even one of them is not there, even if only one is there, the satsang continues. The best satsang is with yourself, no doubt, but in such depth and detail is not possible if you were all not present. So my salutations to you all. To all the gurus who are sitting in front of me in the e-world, electronic world. So, Hari Om. Have a wonderful day. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for half a minute. Hari Om.
Hariom, Hariom Samya.